Hi everyone and welcome. Today's video is about all the books I've been finding lately in my local charity shops. I've been having a few trips to charity shops lately and I have found some really nice finds, some really interesting books, so I want to share them with you. So let's begin. So the first book I found was Just Kids by Patti Smith. I have heard a lot about this and I've been really looking forward to reading her books. I've never read anything by Patti Smith. I know she has M Train also, which if I enjoy this, I'm sure I'll go on to read M Train. The first time I ever heard of Patti Smith, I was basically at a Halloween costume party and I dressed up really hippie style, and I suppose I was going as John Lennon because I had, a headband across my hair. I had the circly glasses, real John Lennon style, so I was basically going as John Lennon. And one of the guys at the party, I arrived and I had my hippie dress and my John Lennon styled sunglasses and whatnot, and there was a guy there and everyone said, "Oh, who have you come as?" And I said, "Guess." And one guy said to me, "Patti Smith." And I thought, who's Patti Smith? So that was my first the first mention I've ever heard of Patti Smith. So then obviously I went home and I looked her up and I thought, oh wow, and then I listened to her music and I thought, yeah, she's pretty cool. So I was very happy to find this. Very cheap. It was actually quite bent, but it was very cheap, maybe €1 or so. So I'm so happy to find this. Just on the inside there's a really lovely photo of her and her partner. So yeah, very happy to find that. So that was the first lucky find. As I said, it was on my list to read anyway. The next book I found, which I've also been wanting to read, is The Travelling Cat Chronicles, and that's by Hiro Arikawa. And as I said, I'm really into my Japanese authors at the moment. I'm currently reading More Days at the Moriaki bookstore and loving it. But this year I want to try and read as many Japanese authors as I can. So I've already started reading this. It's basically about a male cat who's named Nana, and he was a stray and he was taken in by Satoru, and basically they start this little friendship, and yeah, it's very, very sweet. I'll just read a little bit of the blurb. It's not the journey that counts, but who is at your side. Nana is on a road trip, but he is not sure where to. All that matters is that he can sit beside his beloved Satoru in the front of a silver van. Satoru is keen to visit 3 old friends from his youth, though Nana doesn't know why and Satoru won't say. Set against the backdrop of Japan's changing seasons and narrated with a rare gentleness and striking humour, Nana's story explores the wonder and thrill of life's unexpected detours. It is about friendship, solitude, and knowing when to give and when to take. Above all, it shows how acts of love, both great and small, can transform our lives. I mean, who doesn't want to read this? And also there's a comment on the back from Waterstones, and it says, "This is a book I am giving everyone." So I thought that was very sweet. Yeah, so I definitely recommend. As I said, I've read I've just read the first chapter, but it's lovely. It's a very, very nice read. So also the cover is very beautiful, as are most quite unusual, the Japanese authors' covers. Anyway, that's that one. The next one I came across was Frederick Bachman, Anxious People. Now, I've been wanting to read, I haven't read any Frederick Bachman yet. I was going to start with A Man Called Ove or Beartown, but I saw this in the charity shop, and again, it cost me less than €1. It was super cheap. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it a try. So yeah, delighted to find this. Good find. But as I said, I would like to read, I think it's A Man Called Ove. Yeah, A Man Called Ove and Beartown. There's actually quite a lot. 7 books or so. Anyway, yeah, I'll start with this one. So that was a really great find. The next really fantastic find I found was Poems of the Sea, and it's by Everyman's Library, and I absolutely love Everyman's Library books. They're really expensive, but they are really beautiful. So when I find them, and look at the spine, it's so beautiful. When I find them in a charity shop, I'm so delighted with myself. Even inside here, I love the little verse. It says, "Every man I will go with thee and be thy guide, in thy most need to go by thy side." So nice. Anyway, yeah, so it's basically Poems of the Sea. There's some Shakespeare, there's some Sylvia Plath, there's Wordsworth. Who else is in here? There's a lot of anonymous poetry. Oh yeah, Rudyard Kipling. Homer, John Milton, and so forth. I actually just want to read to you. It's one by William Shakespeare. I have it marked here. It's from The Tempest. Can you see? So I just want to read it quickly to you. From The Tempest. "Full fathom 5 thy father lies, of his bones are coral made. Those are pearls that were his eyes, nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. Sea nymphs hourly ring his knell, ding dong. Hark, now I hear them, ding dong, bell." So it's a bit of Shakespeare. So yeah, really nice find. I really like the cover too. As I said, beautiful books, very expensive, but when you find them in a charity shop, happy days. So that's a little bit of poetry. The next books I found total by coincidence. The first one is The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Johansson. Anyway, I came across this and it just sounded really like humorous and funny. I've never read this author before, so I came across this and I thought I have to read this. I'll just quickly read you the blurb. So, "You're never too old for an adventure. Sitting quietly in his room in an old people's home, Alan Carlson is waiting for a party he doesn't want to begin. His 100th birthday party, to be precise. The mayor will be there, the press will be there, but, as it turns out, Alan will not. Escaping in his slippers through his bedroom window into the flower bed, Alan makes his getaway, and so begins his picturesque and unlikely journey involving criminals, several murderers, a suitcase full of cash, and incompetent police. Duh. As his escapades unfold, Alan's earlier life is revealed, a life in which, remarkably, he played a key role behind the scenes in some of the momentous events of the 20th century. I mean, I'd say this is just a crazy, hilariously fun story, so I can't wait to read it. So I came across this maybe 3 weeks ago, and then I was at a different charity shop, and I saw this. I was like, no way, I can't believe there's a sequel. So this is called The Accidental Further Adventures of the 100-Year-Old Man. I mean, come on. I couldn't believe it. Again, it probably cost me like €1. So cheap. So I couldn't leave it there. I had to take it. So that's that, the sequel. And then I was at a different charity shop a few days ago and I came across this. Again, it's another one of his books. So this is called The Girl Who Saved the King of Sweden. I mean, amazing. So this sounds really interesting as well. So I thought, oh my God, how lucky was I to find 3 of his books. So yeah, really, really fun finds. So I can't wait to read those. Now, what else have I found? The rest are books that I'm not aware of. So they were just random finds. And again, very cheap. So the first one is African Genesis, a personal investigation into the animal origins and nature of man by Robert Ardrey. And this looks like a pretty old book. I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting. Yeah, first published in Great Britain in 1961, so it's pretty old. So I would really, really, really enjoy this. I mean, I did enjoy Charles Darwin, Origin of the Species. So there's a lot of interesting talk about animals in this. I'm guessing East Africa. There's some really nice illustrations as well, if you can see. So yeah, I like these, like an old find of like an interesting subject. So I really enjoy this. Oh, the next 2 I found are by Jennifer Johnston. Again, I've never read anything by Jennifer Johnston, but I really like the look of these books, especially the covers. They're very old-fashioned. I really like that. So this is called The Captains and the Kings. And I'll just quickly read you the blurb. Living in the old house, surrounded only by ghosts of his past, Mr. Prendergast seemed himself to be a relic of another more gracious age. Then Dermot's arrival signalled an end to the measured tedium of his days. The growing friendship between the man and the boy is viewed with more than suspicion by both Dermot's parents and by Mr. Prendergast's righteous neighbours. The tin veneer of civilization is about to crack. So, also it says here, touching funny, the best first novel I've read in years. So it's not a long read. It's only 140 or so pages. It's very thin. So, but I really like the old-fashioned covers, so I'm sure I'll enjoy this. And then I also found together was this one, which is called The Christmas Tree. But look at those covers. I mean, they remind me of covers when I was growing up, without letting you know my age. So this one is called The Christmas Tree, and the blurb for this is: in her old family home, Constance waits, hedged about by the well-meaning kindness of her efficient sister and by the tender care of her doctor, a man she once loved. Only the forthright, practical Bridie, the young girl from the convent, understands her need for independence and her solitude. Across the hall from her room is the Christmas tree, festooned with light. It awaits for Christmas Day, as Constance waits for the father of her child to come, and for the final outcome of her own terms. I guess I'll save this for around Christmas time, as it's called the Christmas tree. So, but yeah, I just thought those covers are just really, really beautiful. So that's those 2. And then I came across this really beautiful cover. It's called Salvage, and it's by Richard Kearney, who I believe is an Irish writer who I've never heard of, and I am Irish, so it was a nice find also. He's an Irish philosopher and writer. Very good. So basically this is about, I'll quickly read you the blurb if you don't mind. So it says, it's 1939 and young Maeve O'Sullivan and her family are among the last inhabitants of a windswept island off the south coast of Ireland. After her father's death, Maeve finds herself the last inheritor of the old ways of healing. But the future beckons to Maeve with the arrival of Seamus, a handsome young medical student heading for Dublin. Maeve suddenly finds herself at a crossroads, torn between the pull of the past and the lure of the modern. Must she sacrifice one in order to accommodate the other? Saint Bridget, patroness of poetry, craft and midwifery, hovers over this richly evocative story about the tension between progress and tradition. Timely and timeless, Kearney's novel offers sensual homage to a singular landscape brimming with a Gaelic wisdom about the natural world. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this. I love anything to do with any of the stories off, the coast of Ireland. I find them so interesting, and I'm sure there's a lot in it about the natural world as well, gauging by all the fossils on the cover. So yeah, I've never heard of Richard Kearney, but I'm gonna Richard Kearney. I'm gonna look him up because it sounds really interesting, and I can't wait to read this. And again, the cover is just beautiful. So that's that one. Now the next one, it just sounds so weird, but when I saw the book in the charity shop, I just thought, wow, look at this cover. Green is my favourite colour also, so I thought, wow, what a cover. It's so interesting and weird and bizarre. So basically, this is called The Knight of Turns by Edita Bicker. But this is not the original title of the book. So as I had a look inside, it says preface to the second edition. This second edition has undergone some changes from the first, which was available only in a limited peninsular edition. The most significant change is the title, altered from In Ubnisland to The Knight of Turns. Edita Bicker's text was originally sent back over the border in sections. Much of the manuscript contained personal asides or local allusions. Such comments, unhelpful to the general reader, have been excised from the current edition. The narrative was written in journal form, in code, and in manuscripts of varying commitment and quality. The entries contained no breaks, which has entailed some organisation of the text. Chapter titles are my own. Yeah, it just sounds really bizarre. That's just the introduction, but if I read a part of the blurb, so all the gardens are looked after by the beekeeper, the girl told me. It's not the work of one man. He has his bees. It's not the work of bees, Moosin. Well, his bees isn't bees. I was surprised at her insistence, but she wasn't giving ground. Perhaps she couldn't. Perhaps I'd trodden on the tail of a fate creature and it had turned to bite. She pointed to a shelf in the side of our wagon where a raised lip and gut bands stopped jars falling as we travelled. That honey comes from hives along the path, she said. We can't harvest the hives as we do the gardens. Only the beekeeper can. He tends to all the hives, walking from one to another with massive strides. She lowered her voice. I heard of a man who took honey straight from the comb and not from the jars the beekeeper fills. He put his hands in and was licking the honey from his palms and fingers. The beekeeper came to him, and the honey turned to a pure, burning, sticky, and took his hands down to the bone. Mousen meant this as a warning. I took it as one. I'd watched a handless man struggle to roll a cigarette with his stumps some time back on the path. I let her sleep. I stared at a jar at the honey now. My eyes were dark adapted. The jar glowed with a faint blue gold light. A chunk of honeycomb was suspended within, hanging in the honey like a fragment of denture. I mean, the whole thing sounds pretty bizarre, but I think this might be like an account of like what really happened to her. Like she was part of this kind of commune and she had all weird experiences. I'm not sure if it's fiction, non-fiction, or I've no idea, but I'm intrigued. Again, a random charity shop, fine, cost me not too much, so it's definitely worth a go. It's not the type of stuff I'd usually read, but it just sounds so strange and I really want to find out what's going on here. So yeah, if anyone has ever heard of this, please do let me know, and yeah, what's your view? So that's that one. The next one that I found that I really straight away thought I need to read this. So it's called Hillbilly Elegy, and it's by J.D. Vance. I've no idea. I don't have any idea who the author is, or I've never heard of the book. A memoir of a family and culture in crisis. The memoir, Grip in the US, vividly articulates the despair and disillusionment of blue-collar America. So, yeah, it's something that I would really like to read. Again, if you've read this, let me know. The cover also is so beautiful, but I'd say this is educational. Let's say it'll be an educational read. Again, it's something that I'm very interested in. So that's Hillbilly Elegy. Another one that I don't know anything about is The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. I've never heard of this, and it's quite big. It's a large book, so I thought, yeah, sounds good to me. I'll just quickly read you the blurb. They lived in the biggest house she had ever seen. It had no number, only a name, Golden Hill. It used to belong to an earl or a lord or something like that. There was a meadow behind it and a big wood, like you'd have in a story. So even just by reading that blurb, I want to read this book. So just a review on the back. I experienced every possible human emotion while reading The Bee Sting. Its ambition and scale are astonishing. Reading it, I was constantly reminded of what the novel as an art form is capable of and what it is for. A remarkable feat of storytelling. Again, I've never heard of Paul Murray, but I am really looking forward to reading this. Again, it's a big one, but yeah. I'm sure it's an interesting read. And the last book that I found in the charity shop is Colonel's Shepperton's Clock, and it's an old children's story. It's by Philip Turner. I do love these books. I do love children's stories, especially the old ones. And it has some nice illustrations as well. There's a nice illustration here. I'll just quickly read you the blurb. Just before noon, a strange and unfamiliar sound was heard. A sound of large beams suddenly cracking and splitting, a tearing away of timber, a collapsing of bricks. Mine disaster! It was what he had always known, the grime of the colliery town, the hard, often dangerous lives of the miners, the strikes, the poverty, and now at the age of 12, he, Dick Ullathorne, was following in the footsteps of his father and brother and going down the mine. But what was what he wanted? Or was there an escape from the dirt and the ignorance and the danger? If there was, Dick was determined to find it. So, I wonder what year, actually, this was written. Okay, 1964, first published, Oxford University Press. Really nice. So, yeah, they're all my finds for spring. Let me know what everyone else is reading, or if you've read any of these books, please do let me know your comments or thoughts. Yeah, so take care everyone, and hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.